I love birthdays, holidays, parties, fun trips to places like museums, out to eat with my kids, going to fun coffee shops. I'm not going to let any birthday or holiday pass me by. I'm going to celebrate as much as I can and enjoy it as much as I can. And in order to be able to do these fun things, I will cut back in other ways. So, the main way that I do cut back is the way that I eat on a normal day. Now, don't get me wrong, I do enjoy my food. I don't just eat beans and rice and pasta, but I will talk about my five main go tos when it comes to cheap food or cheap meals. And I am a vegetarian, so my choices are going to be different from most people's. But the five main things that I eat that are really cheap, and these are in no order. One, homemade pizzas. They are so easy to make and they're so cheap. And depending on what I have, if I have mushrooms, I'll use mushrooms. I don't always have mushrooms. If I have onions, I'll use onions. They're usually pretty cheap. Olives, if I get those from the Dollar Tree, they're cheap. Tomato sauce is cheap. Flour is cheap. I get the pizza yeast and it makes it so easy to make. And they're filling and they are delicious. Number two is vegan hamburgers. I prefer lentil peas, but I can make them out of any type of legumes. I just cook beans or sometimes beans and rice, and I just form them into patties and I fry the patties and then I'll just eat them on bread. If I have lettuce or tomatoes or pickles or onions to go on them, I will put that on there. If I don't, then I'll just use the patty and the bread. Now, I have discovered that if I use green split peas in addition to the lentils, it'll make it stick together. Last time I didn't have to use any flour, they just stuck together. So from now on, I'm going to try to use green split peas if I have them so that I don't have to use any flour. Number three is plain old beans and cornbread. They can be pinto beans, lima beans, black beans, any type of beans. And if you have rice or fried potatoes, you can use those as side dishes. Number four is soups, whatever you have left over. And I like to have tomato juice to put in my soup to make it more soup like. And if I have crackers or if I have bread, I can toast the bread and I can make a whole meal out of that. It's just nothing but tomato juice and whatever I have left over to put in the soup and the bread or the crackers. And number five is fresh produce. Now, the good thing about fresh produce, they have cheap produce, they have fancy, expensive produce, and everything in between. So, needless to say, I usually get the cheap produce or whatever's on sale. Like bananas are always cheap if you get the non organic. Tomatoes, I usually get the cheapest tomatoes, the cheapest onions, the cheapest potatoes, and any cheap produce, I just cook it and eat it, whatever it may be. So, those are my five main go to cheap meals that I usually eat every day. And it saves me a lot of money, and that way I have more money to spend on birthdays and holidays and trips and just time to spend with my kids and grandkids, and we can go out to a coffee shop or a smoothie shop. If I told you how low my grocery bill was, you wouldn't believe me, so I'm not going to tell you. But that's how I make it work. That's how I can afford to have fun with my kids and grandkids or my friends. I usually just spend time with my kids and grandkids, but every once in a while I'll go have lunch with a friend. And so it's not like the foods I eat at home, I don't enjoy them. I actually do enjoy them, and I've just found ways to have cheap foods. So that's how I do it.